We need to talk. There's something that a lot of wargamers think about in secret, but they're too afraid to say it out loud. As uncomfortable as this subject may make you feel, I'm talking about playing with yourself. Now get your minds out the gutter, I mean solo wargaming. I'm talking about getting up on a Wednesday afternoon, pulling a sickie, waiting for your partner to head off to work and your kids to just leave the house and go to school. Getting the coffee on, lighting a scented candle, slapping on some smooth jazz, setting up your table, getting all your little miniatures out and just rolling dice with nobody but yourself. I know playing with yourself sounds a bit strange, but hear me out. For decades, there's been this weird stigma in the wargaming community. If you tell someone that you've just spent the afternoon playing 2,000 points of Warhammer 40k with nothing but your own reflection, you're gonna get some weird looks. But here's the thing, people have been playing chess with themselves for hundreds and hundreds of years, trying to master the game, trying to study the game and get better. Writers will argue between characters and often film directors will play both sides of a scene. Why should tabletop wargaming be any different? And after all, why shouldn't I play with myself? Because let's be honest for a second, the hardest part about wargaming isn't collecting the miniatures, it isn't painting and building the miniatures, it isn't even learning the rules or the rich, dense lore. It's actually often scheduling. Life just gets in the way. Work, events, kids, things like that. It's really, really hard in the modern world to actually find time to arrange a game with your mates. Maybe you live in an isolated area where the nearest hobby club is, say, a 3-hour drive away. Maybe you're living with a chronic illness or even a disability. Maybe you've got severe social anxiety and spending time in a crowded hobby space with a ton of people that you don't know is more like punishment than actually having fun. Playing with yourself is the ultimate equalizer. The table is always open. Your opponent never cancels, and you don't have to argue about line of sight, pre-measuring, or the odd cocked dice. I mean, hell, you can even cheat against yourself. But honestly, there is a deeper reason to start talking about this, and this is exactly why I wanted to do this video. Think back to your childhood when you were just an innocent wee nipper. You'd get a couple of WWF wrestling figures like Ultimate Warrior and Ric Flair, and you'd just smash them together and you'd play and you'd tell a story through the way that you were playing. My imagination as a kid was absolutely just fireworks all the time. I didn't have devices, I didn't have a phone or social media. I was left to my own devices in my room, and the way that I use my imagination meant that I was just never ever bored. And that sort of playing, I think, is absolutely essential in our minds. And the older we get, the more we lose that sense of magic and storytelling and creativity. Back then, you didn't need a rule book. You didn't even need an opponent or any friends to do this. You just played with yourself. Sadly, along the line, as we get older, we lose this ability and it becomes, well, taboo really to be playing with toys by yourself, of course. A lot of people will frown on it. People would laugh at you if they found out that you were doing this with action figures, a toy dinosaur and a Pringles pot or something. So, you know, you lose this innocence and you lose this sort of sense of magic and creativity, and it's really sad in a way. So as we get older, we actually just shut that part of our brain off and we just become really, really boring. But finding ways to reconnect with that raw, unfiltered imagination has massive potential for helping our mental health. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll probably already know a little secret about my battle reports in particular. It's that I do them all by myself. I play with myself, quite literally. I'm often talking out loud, explaining the moves that I'm about to do and my sort of thought processes, and often doing pew pew laser noises and different sound effects and voices as I go too. Yes, it's probably a bit odd and my neighbours no longer give me eye contact anymore when I'm putting the bins out at night time, but fuck them, they're boring. When it's just me and the miniatures and the terrain, I can completely lose myself in the setting. It becomes pure, immersive narrative. I am completely locked into the story of these gangers, the desperation of the Underhive, and the cinematic drama unfolding on the board as I let the dice decide the outcome and the story takes shape. It is the ultimate mental reset from the world. Because let's face it, the real world kind of sucks sometimes. But the biggest question I get asked, and I often ask myself, is Is this actually fun? Don't you often know the outcome before it happens? The answer is a resounding yes, it's absolutely fun. And no, you don't know the outcome of a game that involves probability and the dice roll, because you just let that dictate the story and the flow of things. Because in a narrative game, you aren't the players, you're the director. When you play with yourself, you yield control to two things, the dice and fate. You don't play to win, you see what story the universe wants to tell. If you take risky, statistically terrible decisions because it would look awesome in a movie and it pays off, that is exciting. If your Space Marine Terminator trips over a pebble and gets eaten by a stray squig because the dice demanded it, that is pure narrative gold. You aren't trying to outsmart yourself, you are letting the chaos of the tabletop surprise you. To make this all work, you just need to do a few little mental tricks, and one of them is the two-hat method, where you genuinely try to make the best tactical decisions against yourself. I've been doing this with chess and Blood Bowl for a very long time now, and often I will play my absolute hardest against my own self, and there is very little separating the two sides of the game. Or you can completely automate what the enemy does in a game. Say you could play a game of Necromunda, you take charge of one gang, and the enemy, their sort of decisions are based on, say, a dice roll or even a deck of cards to decide how they interact with you, whether that monster is going to charge you or it's going to run for cover. Can be dictated by either dice rolls or cards or other means. I find this is better for sort of narrative play, of course. Games like Mordheim and Necromunda and Gorkamorka are specifically very good for playing solo in this way because of the sort of narrative flavour and depth that you get with these. So if your armies, gangs, teams and warbands have been sat gathering dust in display cases, or in my case taking up half of the kitchen cupboards now, I challenge you, the next time you have a day off or some time to yourself and you just want to chill, reconnect with that inner childhood imagination. Set up a small board, get out some of your favourite miniatures, dim the lights, slap on some Barry White and simply play with yourself. You might just really love it. Trust me, it is a lot more fun than just leaving your models to gather dust. Thanks for watching.